welcome back to a new episode of AI Chronicles. I know it's been a long time. I've been busy with work, so you might have missed me or my episodes here. But don't worry, I got you covered. And today I have a very interesting topic to cover, and it's all about AI agents. I mean, now people are talking about agents everywhere I go. But today we would like, or I have invited someone from AWS, um, Srini, who leads the team of Amazon Q. Hi, Srini. How are you doing?
Hey, hi, Sonam. Thank you very much for having me on the podcast.
Yeah,
Looking forward.
absolutely. Perfect. Let's start with some introduction. So, my listeners already know me, but how about you introduce yourself
Yeah.
briefly?
Hey, everybody. Hey, listeners. I'm Srini, applications and developer experiences in AWS. Um, I, my team builds and manages Amazon Q Developer, which is part of the Amazon Q suite of software. Amazon Q and Amazon Q Developer is the most capable generative AI software application out there, which also helps with software development and with internal data of your repositories and customer data too. There is Amazon Q Developer and Amazon Q Business, and this is perfect timing. In fact, we just announced an update, a refresh to one of the agents we have, Amazon Q Developer agent for software development. The other agent that we also have is the Amazon Q Developer agent for code transformation, and we'll talk about all of those too. The recent update that happened improved the code generation capabilities by up to 50%. So I'm very excited to be talking about it. And then the code transformation, we also announced how that has been actually helping Amazon internally developers to be able to migrate and upgrade Java versions from one to another as well. And as we go through this conversation, I'll provide more data and details about how this is working.
That's pretty cool. I mean, okay, I'm definitely eager, curious to learn more about Amazon Q and, agents in general. So, let's get started. I have my first question ready for you. So, so you talked about code generation, and I know there are so many other things that, agents or chatbots helping software developers write code as well, and, all those things. So how do you see generative AI reshaping the software development process over the next, say, few years, or, if you want, like next 5 years?
The the way the Amazon Q we are thinking about it is these are all going to be task-based activities, and software
Mm-hmm.
development is one of the tasks. And within software development, there is other tasks of migrating your software, upgrading and maintaining your software. There is also creating more code based on functionality that you want, writing more tests, updating your tests as well. So these are all agents and how we are thinking about. And as you see in the recent updates that we talked about, and I'll quickly give you a little bit of impact that we've had through both internally and externally too. For example, for Q code transformation, we are Amazon is a Java shop. I'm like of course we code internally in many other languages as well, but
Right.
within the Java shop, we upgraded over 30,000 production applications recently using the code transformation agent. And these 30,000 production applications saved us around 4,500 years of software development.
Oh, wow.
$260 million of soft savings because of the productivity improvement, newer versions and stuff. So that's one agent that we have.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
other agent where we refreshed after the first launch that we recently announced a refresh is the software development agent, where you provide natural language commands and
Mm-hmm.
provide instructions to Q. The agent actually works on your behalf and it is able to complete tasks, coding tasks. Now it is
Mm-hmm.
complete 50% more coding tasks after the recent update as well. Um, where you see, in fact, Bench, which is the industry leader for
Mm-hmm.
the data sets and the performance benchmarking around these software agents, has a set of issues. In there, we now are 40% completing all the tasks than how it was earlier. And this is on the lighter version. And in the full version of Bench, we complete up to 20% of the tasks. So think of it as these agents, the way they're operating is you now have a group of senior software engineers and experienced engineers pair
Mm,
programming with you, peer programming with you. They understand, and these are all multi-step reasoning capability agents. So
right.
you look at the code, you try and understand the code, pick up a task. I want to be able to add new tests. I want to be able to add new functionality. Goes through step by step with the large language models and the foundational models that we have, Amazon has through Bedrock as a platform,
Right.
and vast knowledge that we've built over years in terms
Mm-hmm.
of we built applications, brought it all together, the reasoning
Yeah.
capability. That's how agents are progressing.
Right, right. So do you think like I know, you mentioned the big numbers and saving hours and costs and years of extra work. Do you think these are in your team? Uh, do you think that these agents are more in line with in a coding assistant, a pair programmer to the software developer, or or how are these how are humans in the loop coming along with the agents?
Yeah. For us, the way in Amazon we've been thinking about it is Amazon Q and Q developer provides solutions in every step of the software development lifecycle. I, as a developer, or you as a
Oh.
developer, would be planning what you have to do, understanding your code, in building applications on top of it,
Mm,
deploying the applications, and maintaining and debugging the issues as well. Q
gotcha.
developer is now think of Q developer as your pair programmer or your support other another
Mm,
software engineer that sits next to you, where it's actually providing you recommendations and suggestions, and you as a developer gets to choose
mm,
which ones
right.
you want to build. In fact, you can have a conversation with Q and say, no, I don't think
Mm,
what you're telling me is correct. Can you tell me? In fact, the recent update that happened with the Q agent happened through the feedback that we have received from external customers that have been using us and the innovation that has been happening too. So the human in this case, which is the dev,
mm-hmm.
is talking to Q as an agent, as a support developer,
Right.
and then being able to do more tasks.
It's like brainstorming session, like, water cooler chat kind of thing in person in the office kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you use Q Developer with the software agent right now, you can actually say, whatever you suggested, I don't like. Can you tell
Uh,
me a little more and go back? And then
right.
the agent will go back to editing and changing it and giving
Mm,
back to you. And what you use in your code is your choice, you as a
your
developer.
choice. Right, right. And so, like, do you think these agents perform better in one part of the software developer life cycle compared to the other stage of the cycle, or it's like uniform performance?
The, the tasks are very different. Like
Right,
migration
right.
of Java upgrade is different
Mm,
from I want to write an application or update an application. Each of these tasks are evaluated separately. We have them separately.
mm,
Example,
mm-hmm.
one of the examples I gave you is the SweBench leaderboard for completion of tasks. The Java upgrade is a different task of that.
Right.
So we're catering and going through each step of the software development lifecycle and then providing solutions for all of them as well.
Got it. Okay. Just, listening about these things, it's like we have come so far when you think about the whole evolution of technology. Agents are pretty cool, I must say that. Okay, so we talked about, agents doing code generation and upgrades and whatnot. So in besides just the code generation or, software development life cycle, do you think or are there other areas that we should be paying attention to when it comes to AI agents?
Yeah, great. One of the things that we pay attention to, writing code is one piece of puzzle, like you called out.
Mm-hmm.
Deploying the code is the other one. So Amazon Q Developer is not just about writing code alone. Q is also available in troubleshooting and managing your cloud compute. If you are in the AWS console, you
Right.
can actually talk to Q to
Mm-hmm.
ask questions about your resources, how many EC2 instances you have, and what you're able to do this. And you're also able to actually manage computers. So that's one piece of the puzzle. The other one is we have things like security scans and code
Mm,
remediations in place because we all
right.
write code. We all write code. The machines are generating code as well, and we keep updating our own versions. We want to make sure that we are providing with high quality, secure code for developers. So there
Mm-hmm.
is functionality around security scans where we will find code quality issues and security kind of issues in your code base and then
Mm-hmm.
recommend to the developer of what those issues are. We look at CWEs, which are the common weaknesses enumeration list, and the OWASP list as well. And we're able to provide recommendations to the developer of what those issues are in their code base. And then the developer, we either also provide fixes for them. Sometimes remediations are provided, or you can ask you to provide remediations and you go from there. That is the
Okay.
other piece of that. And in the aspect of security scans and how we are providing, we are industry leader in terms of all sorts of benchmarking out there as well.
You mentioned something called OVAS. Can you tell me what it is?
Yeah. These are specific sets of issues. There's an open source, open consortium of sorts, the World Wide Web Application Security Protocol platform, where there is a list of issues, whether
Hmm.
of it as SQL injections, whether it's exception handling. And so there is a set of top issues that all of us developers should be paying attention to. I'm like everybody should be paying attention to all the time. What we are actually doing is, along with generating code and being able to manage resources, we are able to provide you with additional help so that we
Right.
filter out that code and we actually help the developer to be able to fix them.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Got it. Uh, I had like a question which I think you already covered in the beginning when you were introducing, but I was curious, like how close are we to the point where AI could reliably generate complex production-ready code? I know that you have implemented Amazon Q for production level applications in your team. So I'm just curious, like, are we just close enough to that we can rely on whatever AI comes up with, or do you see like what are the challenges that do you foresee in adopting this at scale?
The, the example that I had earlier for you,
Mm,
this is not only about talking to a large a foundation model and getting the answer. What Amazon has
mm,
been doing is the decades of experience that we have over building applications, the program analysis, the automated
right.
reasoning that sits on top of it. So it's a combination of the models plus program analysis and all the scaffolding that sits around it, which is what we are doing, packaging it with making sure that your code is reliable,
Mm,
secure. I'm like, we also have, because of the AWS, all the documentation is indexed in terms of how we build the RAG systems as well. So a combination of all of that and the iterativeness of the agents where
mm-hmm,
you're generating tests. So what happens in the code transformation is it looks at any unit test that you have. It As it upgrades from one version to another, it's recreating those tests, making sure tests are passing. This
mm,
way, it's an iterative process. If you run the transform job right now, it takes up to 10 minutes, depending on the repo size or even longer.
mm,
What it is actually doing is iteratively, and then it's actually executing the application to make sure that the functionality is not changing and going through the exercise. And to your earlier point, we're human in the loop. Ultimately, me as the developer or you as the developer will be the one who's going to take it to production. We're
right.
empowering the developers to be able to get there faster with all
Mm-hmm.
sorts of tooling.
Understood. Got it. Got it.
Like
Okay.
one of the examples, I think persistent systems, I think is one of the companies. They're using Q developer to slash some of the tech debt. I mean, we all have tech. Every company, every team.
Every company has tech debts. Yeah.
In the productivity improvement because of Q and being able to converse, being able to optimize. Like Q also lets you optimize code, lets you explain the code that you have so that you can rewrite it. They've seen a developer productivity improvement of 83% to
Mm,
be able to do this. And similar examples of other places where hundreds of thousands of lines, BT Group was one where they were able to generate 100,000 lines of code and use them in the first few weeks of adopting Q Developer as well. So I think all what it is doing, it's a tool that is making development faster, removing all the mundane tasks. I'm like nobody really wants to upgrade software. Uh,
yes.
they're automating those mundane tasks and giving the developer back all the time so that they can come up with creative solutions for that.
Creative solutions. Understood. Got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, kind of going bottom up, we talked about Amazon Q, spoke about, agents, but kind of want to touch base, like how would you define what is an AI agent?
Um, the way at least I think about it, and we've been thinking about it, is these are all task completion
Mm-hmm.
systems where you provide a specific task, and the agent essentially, to simplify it, is what it is doing is it is multi-reasoning. So it first either talks to a system, talks to the large language model, the foundational piece, comes back with its own answers, then does a little bit of reasoning, goes back and forth till either the quality metric is satisfied or the the test passes in this case of sorts, and then it
Mm-hmm.
completes the task. So task completion is what these agents are
Mm-hmm.
essentially doing. And to that end, the code transformation is one agent. We have one task. Software
Right.
development is another task, and you'll see a plethora of other tasks as well.
Okay, okay. So that's how you're defining those tasks. Okay. I thought that, okay. Okay, now it's much clearer. And what advancements in multi-agent systems do you see as, the next breakthrough, for lack of a better word?
As the foundation model gets powerful, they're also available, like the democratization of these models. For
Mm-hmm.
example, Amazon Bedrock, which is the platform layer for us, there is all the foundation models, very capable foundation models, AI 21 Labs to Anthropic to the Mistral AI. They're all available, and the models are becoming powerful in terms of what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Along with that, us being able to bring in the experience we have in terms of program analysis and tying them together, I think is a combination where these agents are becoming extremely powerful for various task managements where they will start talking. And one of the reasons why we said it's not only in the coding assistant that we want Q to be in, we were thinking of the entire software development lifecycle, right? Like I showed you the other extreme where you can
Right.
actually manage your cloud compute or AWS compute using Q.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can all think about the various things that we can start doing in terms of how these are all connected from one another. Because I, as a developer, I'm not only coding, but I'm actually doing a lot of other things too. So these
Right.
agents are, in a way, communicating with each other, talking to each other, and that's the step that we're marching towards. Where this
Mm-hmm.
is the first step of how we are getting there.
Got it. So I'm sure, while building Amazon Q or any other, specific task-oriented agents, what do you think are the biggest challenges and opportunities in developing these agents? Especially, making like autonomously making decisions at scale, especially in a production environment.
Yeah, the challenges essentially are the accuracy and
Mm.
how the trustworthiness of these systems.
Right.
And we at Amazon here pay a lot of attention to when things are getting launched, the
Right.
evaluations, the benchmarking that happen before we take it to production. Um, because of how we do this. For example, I go back to the SWE bench that we said. Sometime back, we also published a paper around what is called MBXP. This is the most basic, it used to be MBPP, most basic Python problems. Now we extended it to other languages as well. So there is evaluations that we run internally to be able to make it more accurate and trustworthy. So there's the trustworthiness of these systems when we go there.
Mm.
The second is this is why we integrated the code security scans inherently in
Gotcha.
Q developer versus the developer not having to do anything different and special. It's not like a add-on that you have to ask for. We do it inherently because if there is code in your repo that is not
Mm-hmm.
correct or is not performant, we are able to give you those suggestions too. So I think a lot of this is to do with the trustworthiness of how the systems are evolving. And to
Right.
your point, like you said, the human in the loop. I'm a
Yeah.
developer. I have
Yeah.
access to what I'm doing, the code that I have, and I'm taking it as we automate this as well.
You mentioned trustworthiness a few times. How do you define trustworthiness in this context?
The responsible AI pieces. So there is the accuracy, the correctness, and
Right,
how we
right.
think about it. In fact, from an acceptance rate standpoint,
Mm,
we are rated highest industry standard acceptance rate that we have. For example, I think National Australian Bank recently said they have up to 50% acceptance rate of the code that Q developer is generating as well, which is
mm-hmm.
essentially means it goes through the developer actually looking at the code that we are generating and saying, yes, this is something that I'm ready to use and take it there. So that is the trustworthiness. And to build that, we are using the examples of evaluation, like I just talked about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
make sure all the guardrails are in place. Responsible AI is something that
Right.
is very inherent for us.
Yeah.
Um, like there is a feature called reference tracking.
Okay.
What this essentially means is when the code recommendation is a similar match to something in the open source world, because these are foundation models trained on
So,
uh,
open
open
source.
source data, we actually attribute it to the open source
Oh,
locations. What this is saying is you as a developer gets to choose. Wait, I don't want to use this because of where it is coming from, because of the license issues. Or you can also say, this is great code, I want to be able to use this. Now that is what it is doing to you as a developer, is you start believing the service where it is not, it is creating code where it is verified, you're scanning it. Now it's reliable in terms of accuracy and in terms of the security and the performance as well. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
movement that is going through with the recent agent. That's exactly what we did with the transformations. That's what we're doing. And that's what you'll see more and more of that.
Understood. Okay, that's very helpful to understand that. So now, we have been talking about agents this whole time. So do you think are we moving towards industry-specific AI agents, designed for particular verticals such as healthcare, finance, or logistics, or any other domains that you can think of?
I- in a way, if you look at think of the transform agent that I talked about or the software development agent, because they're a task specific
Task
one.
specific. Yeah.
The same thing with Amazon Q Business that we have, where it's a generative AI assistant using enterprise data internally. I'm like, there is up to 40 plus connectors that we provide, all the way
Mm-hmm.
from, you can connect to Jira, Confluence, to your documents, ingest all of that, and start building what we call the Q apps. You can build Q apps as well, and that is catering to a different persona, that is catering to your business person in the company, that's catering to the CEO of the company, is integrated into Slack and other tools as well. So that's, it's not the developer persona, but it is somebody else like the business intelligence engineer who wants to be able to mine the data. So more and more of these persona based focused exercises and task completions are in the works, and that's kind of where we are headed towards too with Amazon Q
Mm-hmm.
overall.
Okay, got it. So I guess we should be on a lookout of how all these agents are becoming into like apps or domain specified, I believe, just keeping foundational, for example, Amazon Q being the foundational agent behind these apps. Got it. Okay. So, I always like to like when I end the episode or our conversation, I always like to come up with either advice or, any learnings that you can share with our listeners. So, my question to you is, what are some key learnings you have gathered from working with the developer community that has, influenced AWS's approach or, even your like specific to your team to generative AI?
The, in fact, the way I think all of this is changing is the relationship that I, as a developer, have with code. If you really
Yeah.
think about it, I never did the punch card coding programming. I'm
Mm-hmm.
slightly younger than the punch card, but I did do the dot matrix printers, and if I had to do graphics, I had to do pixel positioning and for loops to be able to do pixel positioning. That was how I started development. To where we have come, the the kind of applications that we're able to build is changing, and so the relation, it's all the same code, it's under the
Mm-hmm.
hood, it's the same code, but
Yeah.
happening is the the applications that we're able to build for the customers and what you're doing it, how you're thinking about it is changing. So the developers, because of the innovation that is happening and because of some of the tenets that we at Amazon have as
Mm-hmm.
part of the responsible AI, whether it's service level availabilities that we have. I'm like that, that's in our DNA. We just naturally think about this all the time,
Right.
whether it's about the security, whether it's about IP and the code belonging to you and not, everybody else. A combination of all of this, the feedback that we've got is great. Now, where do you start seeing this helping me as a developer? And that's exactly what we've been talking about, is thinking of every step of the software development lifecycle. And the
Mm.
feedback that we get from customers is how they're seeing value, step by step incremental improvements that are happening, adding specific use cases, right? Whether it's writing about unit tests and whether it's about other parts of the software development lifecycle. So the feedback has been great that's coming to us, and we are iterating and going through each of these steps as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what we've also seen is which of these are the most tedious tasks, like the example of the code transform, where
Yeah.
nobody is enthusiastic about migrating and upgrading software. There's not a single developer
Yeah.
in the world who would want to do this. We said, let's go make sure that we actually move the needle so that we internally can use it too. The good
Right.
part, amazing part here is Amazon has a lot of developers internally. We are building applications we've been doing, and we are using Q Developer, which is almost like a flywheel effect of sorts, where we get feedback, start improving, where we see what works and doesn't work, and iterate and start improving. as the
Mm.
foundation gets stronger with the better models, the platform in Bedrock as well.
Nice. Okay, I am very enthusiastic about, learning about different aspects of agents and, looking forward to what Amazon Q comes up with, what it builds, and how people actually like. I'm curious to see how developers across the globe start using Amazon Q and what they build with it. So yeah, thank you so much, Renee, for this for sharing your knowledge and wisdom on my podcast.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having me. Quick call to action to all the listeners out there.
Yeah,
Amazon Q Developer is right now available in IDEs like Visual Studio Code and JetBrains. Anybody can install it, start trying it out. You should be able to, if you are already coding or if you're wanting to learn a programming language or you're trying to migrate software into one from one version to another, Amazon Q Developer is available out there. Anybody should be able to install it and give it a spin and keep the feedback coming. And we will keep bringing the improvements as you've seen them in the last few weeks and more to come.
thank you so much for sharing that.